My computer has been kind of, oh, okay, I guess that means I am on there then. Thank you, Miss Rosie. We've got a great program for you this afternoon. We've got Miss Anna Grider and Eric Hammer from planning, who is going to go over some of the new things that are going on downtown for you. And then we've got the fantastic and beautiful Council Member Toombs, who is going to go over the budget items for you and allow you to ask some questions. I also see the District 33 Beautification Commissioner was on here as well. So let me ask, do I have anybody else from the mayor's office or any from metro offices? Okay, I want everybody to give a big hand for the wonderful and talented who had been at home for a heart attack and now she's back working hard, who is here with us, Rosie Hayes. And Rosie, you know I always mess up your new last name. What's your new last name?
Chocolate. And thank you very much for thinking of me.
Oh, I always think of you. What are you talking about?
Thank you.
I'm going to ask everyone something a little different, and I would like for you to bear with me. I am going to ask you all to just come on and say hello and your name one by one. And then Rosie, I want you to look as they do that to make sure everybody does that. And the reason I am doing that is if you weren't on the last meeting, you may have heard we had a hacker who was in, and he put some things out there that were not very nice at all. And so one way to have that shown is for everybody to come on, say their name so we can see who they are. And then if they're not somebody that is supposed to be on there, we're going to remove them because we don't want that hacker in again. And I don't know how he got there, but I think EH is the big picture I'm looking at now. So I'm going to start with you. I don't know what EH stands for. And oh, that's Eric. Oh, okay. I do have it from planning. So now you see who Eric from planning is. Okay, so but if everybody really quickly can just go through one at a time and you can say hello, and say their name, please.
I can start, Councilmember Lee. I'm Eric Hammer. I work at the planning department, as you said before. Hopefully y'all can hear me. I haven't tested the audio.
Yes.
Yes. But that's who I am. Unfortunately, I do not believe I can change the EH behind my name. So just remember that I am Eric Hammer. I work with planning. Next, I think that next to me is Billy over here.
Yeah. Billy Spalding.
Hey, Billy.
Hi.
Hello. Who else do we have, Roxy? I mean, oh, here we go. Okay.
Hi, I'm Josh Richardson, and this is Bob Cologne.
Hello.
Hey,
And
Josh and Bob.
33.
Yay.
Hi, everyone.
Next. Billy, you can't eat in front of us unless you bring some for everybody.
I'm not eating. I'm going through my notes.
Okay. Next, who else do we have, Roseanne? We have somebody else on there?
Anna Grider.
Yeah, hi. I'm Anna Grider with Metro Planning. I work with Eric, and I'll be talking about the East Bank study. So good to see everyone.
Okay. Thanks, Anna.
John.
Yes, John.
Okay, there's John. Hey there.
Deontay Carroll.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Yay. There's my guy. Guys.
GS. Yes.
I'm sorry. Hi, this is Gilda. Hi, how y'all doing?
Hi.
Hi. Melissa. Shalik. Leah.
Yeah, I'm right here.
Okay, that's everybody.
Okay,
Melissa.
huh?
Hey, John. Hello.
So any of you all that were here before, oh, that's Alyssa. Any of you that were here on the last one, you know how disrupted that was. So if you want to stop at any time, if you see somebody come on, Rosie, that looks a little suspect, if you want to stop and say, we just need them to come on and say hello, who they are, then we will stop. We will do that.
Okay.
I want to also send a shout out. One person that we are missing that is always at our meetings. I don't know if you all have heard or not. Tawana. Tawana is a very active member in our meetings, although she's not in 33. She's been to all of our meetings, and I don't know what I would do without her. She had a very bad accident in her family. Well, okay, she said she wanted people to know what happened. So her brother, who had mental illness, actually shot her and shot himself, and she was in the hospital. She's doing much better. I talked to her on the telephone, oh gosh, I know, for maybe like 20 or 30 minutes, almost a day after. And she now is they have moved her to.
She's in the adult section of the
Okay.
Children's Hospital at Vanderbilt.
Okay.
She's doing quite well. I saw her and her family yesterday, and she really appreciated you, Council Lady Lee, and your outreach to her. She thought that you handled it in a very thoughtful and desirable manner. So she wanted to pass that along to you. She appreciated.
Thank
She
you.
appreciated
Thank you.
and she's doing quite well. She'll probably be
Yeah.
going to rehab later this week, or possibly the first of next week. She's very, very fortunate, and we just wish her all of her best, all our best.
Great. Thanks so much, John, for the update. And those that are listening, because her father has some health challenges. I think it's with his hip, and her mother does as well. So please continue to keep the three of them in your prayers. I will say that the community did a fantastic job of rallying and helping and coming to their aid. So please continue to keep them in your prayers. I am now going to turn it over to, and I don't know how you two want to do it, to Eric and Anna from planning to go over some of the things that are happening in the downtown area for you.
All right, thanks, Councilmember Lee. Eric, do you have a preference? I'm happy to go if you want to go first, draw straws.
I can just take it if that's okay. But I think I've got a presentation here, if I can put that up, and we can talk about the East Bank after that. Both of these areas are in the downtown community plan area, so they're pretty related. Is there a way that I can?
You should be able to.
So I'm not seeing the ability to add a or present. Let's see, Roseanne, is there a button I need to press here?
I'm gonna make you the host, and then if you'll just turn it back to me when you get through.
Thank you.
Okay.
Wonderful. It looks like I can share. All right, can everyone see my screen?
Yep, it's in presentation mode.
Yes.
Let me try to switch that.
It's still over there.
Down at the bottom right, you should be able to make it full screen.
Bottom right, okay.
Right, looks like a glass maybe with a, right there next to the large and smaller screen, you know, where you can enlarge it.
All right, I think I got it. Is everybody
you
seeing
go.
my screen? Awesome. So unfortunately,
There we
Zoom comes
go.
with some downsides. Perfect. Awesome. So we have a couple slides prepared here, but generally speaking, this is going to be a presentation kind of in two parts. Anna will be talking about the East Bank, and I'll be talking about some recent projects that have occurred downtown. And you might have heard about some of these in the news, but they are ones that are kind of changing the downtown landscape. One of the things that the planning department does is we administer the downtown code, which is the zoning that encompasses a lot of downtown. So we do see these projects pretty closely. If you're looking at the screen right now, you'll see a map of the growth that's from the unofficial census data. And what that's showing is that there are areas of the county in red that are growing quicker. There are areas of the county that are growing about the same as the others. And there are areas of the county in the blue that are growing less. You can kind of see that downtown in the urban core is one of those areas of red growth where we're seeing a lot of things happening very quickly, including population. So the first major project you've probably heard about is 5th and Broadway. It was built in the site of the old convention center. It really has three components. One of which is a food hall. There's a apartment structure that has about 370 apartments. And then as well as the headquarters for Alliance Bernstein. You can kind of see the sign right there. It also has parking, retail stores, art exhibits, and a museum, which we'll cover in a little bit. So the first component that is part of this development is a large food hall. It's actually the largest food hall in the United States as of right now. It's across the street from Bridgestone Arena, and the opening hours are catering to both the Central Business District office workers, as well as locals visiting special events and visitors to the community. There's actually over 30 restaurants. There was an effort to make sure that local restaurants were not going to be left out in favor of national chains. So there are several faces that you'll see inside the Assembly Food Hall that are also restaurants that are owned by members of the community.
Hey, that's my friend's development, Pat Emery, my old pal.
Good to see you, John. Good to see you. Yeah, it is an exciting development. We've been able to see it kind of grow up through stages and kind of transform this corner, a really important corner within downtown. So as part of this, there is a National Museum of African American Music, which is a significant part of the smaller building within the complex. There are a lot of different exhibits to take a look at, as well as some really interesting artifacts. They actually have B.B. King's guitar, I think it was a Gibson called Lucille. It's a fascinating museum. If you do have the opportunity to check it out, I would highly recommend it. But it opened up on, I believe in January of this year, and you can just go in and get tickets and peruse the exhibits. It's super interesting. There's nothing like it in the rest of the United States. This is the only museum of its kind so far. And then for downtown projects, we're going to talk about a couple of projects that have been kind of catalyzed by other things that have happened downtown. You can kind of see this map behind me. That's kind of showing you a number of stories where things are happening. You can see that there are clusters of dots that are around areas like the Convention Center, Division Street, et cetera. Significantly, the KBB roundabout and the Korean Veterans Boulevard project has really spurred a lot of new development. We have several projects that are proposed that kind of surround the new roundabout as the connection between KBB, 8th Avenue through downtown. You can see that these are pretty significant projects in terms of the height of them, and they're using the topography and the site to address the roundabout. You can see some of them are taking cues from the Sticks public art. In terms of public art, I know that there are differing opinions when it comes to Sticks, but having that as a reflection in the architecture is something that we appreciated about the design. Similarly, we are also seeing a lot of residential growth, if you recall that map from before, in the Gulch. Recently, within the last couple of years, the Division Street Bridge opened. Previously, Division Street was part of an urban renewal project where it basically ended at the railroad tracks. The Division Street Bridge allowed that connection to the Lafayette area and kind of more towards the metro offices to occur. And it really helped alleviate a lot of the pressures that were being placed on other roads, as well as connect those two neighborhoods together with a pedestrian and bicycle friendly connection. As part of that, you're seeing some redevelopment occur. We're also seeing some smaller scale redevelopment. You'll see two buildings on the top and on the bottom. Both of those are historic or worthy of conservation structures that have been preserved as part of redevelopment plans that have occurred within this area that are currently ongoing. So you'll see on the top, if you recognize the Voorhees sign, you'll know that's the Voorhees building, which is technically not protected before this developer who owns a lot of this slice decided that they wanted to protect this and reuse it in the development. Likewise, the Antiques Mall, even though it's been repurposed for its original use, is also being preserved in perpetuity. And that's with a zoning overlay that would allow them to stay and essentially serve as new uses with the same fabric. In the middle, you're seeing high-rise development, which we are also seeing within downtown, especially in this area. This has been kind of an area of immense growth, especially residential. The project that's on the right there is the Albion Gulch project, which was recently approved about 6 months ago. And that's really the presentation. There's a lot more happening downtown than just that. However, we just wanted to give you kind of a broad bird's eye view of what's happening, where growth is happening at the rapid pace that it's occurring. So thank you for listening. And Anna, I'll turn it over to you for East Bank.
All right. Let me see if I can share my screen. I think I might need to be host again, Rosie.
Change your host to Eric to Anna.
Can you give me instructions on
Right
how to do that? Do I right click on her?
Make her host.
Okay.
Wonderful. I feel like Bill Gates. There we go.
All right. Okay, let me this up. Okay. Well, yeah, I'm Anna Grida with the Metro Planning, and one of the projects I'm leading is a study of the East Bank. And I will, on the next slide, talk through kind of the boundaries of that. But we began in earnest on this back in April of this year. And last week we held our first in-person meetings. We have had a few virtual meetings, but last week was our first chance, given the COVID restrictions, to get together in person with the general public at large. So we had 3 in-person public workshops last week. But to give you a quick picture of what the East Bank study is, if you can see on the slide, it's a public process led by the planning department to create a long-range plan for the East Bank and guide future development that we see on the East Bank. Here's more of a zoomed out. You can see the study area in the center of your screen. And then this is 1, 2, and 5 mile circles around, so you can see kind of how central the East Bank is to our city and all these great neighborhoods that we have around it, and wondering what new neighborhoods on the East Bank might look like in the future. Here is the study area more zoomed in. So we go from Jefferson Street south to where I-24 comes over the river, with the river and I-24 being the east and west boundaries. So we are south of where you might have heard of Oracle and the River North and Top Golf Development. We're looking at the area south of that. Obviously there's Nissan Stadium and the Titans, where the Titans play in the center, and then a lot of larger industrial uses around the area. The planning department has a number of goals that we have for this study, including really celebrating and prioritizing the river and trying to turn our faces back to the river. We're wanting to figure out how our north-south and east-west connections work through the East Bank, prepare for a multimodal transportation, and plan for long-term environmental resiliency as this area is within the floodplain and has flooded. This is our river-looking timeline. So as I mentioned, back in February and May, we had 2 virtual meetings. And we have a website if you're curious about the content of those meetings. I'll pull up that slide at the end with the website information. We also have a couple of advisory groups that we work with during this study. One is a neighborhood advisory group made up of representatives from the neighborhoods around the East Bank, whether those are in East Nashville or downtown, and some of the nonprofits and religious organizations that serve the East Bank, the homeless population, and other communities on the East Bank. And then we have a technical advisory group that really is made up mostly of metro and state entities that are providing us advice on some of our proposals and whether technically what we're proposing could or couldn't work. So you'll see that bolded up here was our July public workshops. We held one last Wednesday lunchtime, one last Wednesday evening, and one last Thursday evening. Had really good attendance, and we also have an online survey that I'll share the link to at the end for those folks that weren't able to attend. But we're continuing to work on the study and hope to be back at the end of August with some options to show the public on streets and public infrastructure that will ultimately hopefully go to the Planning Commission in October, which would be updates to our major and collector street plan. So it's really a first step in a long study, is getting the street connectivity how we want it to be in the future. So again, that's kind of what the study is ultimately going to do. First one being updating the major and collector street plan that we hope to do in September or October. Ultimately, we might have updates to Nashville Next and the land use policy and design standards for future projects on the East Bank. I'm going to skip through to the last slide to pull up the information on our survey. So if you are able to, you can scan this QR code and do the survey, or go to the website, which is eastbankstudy.nashville.gov, and there's a link on there. It's just a short online survey. I think it takes an average of 5 or 6 minutes, but it's a good chance to give us your first input on what you'd like to see on the East Bank and the reasons why you might or might not go to the East Bank today and what could bring you there in the future. And we also have an email address on there if you have questions or comments that you want to share with us. So that is a very whirlwind tour, but happy to answer any questions that anyone has, or pass the host facility back.
Anna, this is Billy Spalding. You mentioned a multimodal transportation network. What is that, briefly?
Yeah, well, multimodal means, so not just for cars. We want to plan for people that are walking or biking or running or taking transit. So we want to make sure that the street network and the streets on the East Bank work for everyone, not just cars.
So it's just within that area.
Well, yeah, so that's our focus. We know that, there's a lot going on around the East Bank that we want to connect to. And so we're taking into consideration everything that's happening north of us, south of us, east of us. So it'll be kind of, there are some regional connections there that we want to pay attention to and help. But that is our 338 acres is a lot to focus on.
Okay,
so,
thank you.
Thanks, great question.
Anna, somebody placed in the chat, I missed the part of what areas are a part of the East Bank. Oh, it looks like John answered it for him, but if you want to go ahead.
Sure. Let me see what slide. I can just review that real quick. So Jefferson Street south to where I-24 comes over the river. So it's south of everything that's happening at Oracle and River North and Topgolf. And the Titan Stadium is kind of towards the center of our study area.
So it doesn't go as far as Fisk and TSU. That's not a part of it.
No, that's not a part of it.
Thank you.
Correct. Yeah.
All right. Any more questions for these two in planning? Well, I want to thank you so very, very much for coming and presenting to us. Oh, let me see. I've turned my off. Let me turn me back on. I can turn you. Oh, okay, sorry. Okay, so I want to thank you all very much for coming and speaking with us. And at other times when there are questions about what's going on, we may have you to come in again. And then that way people can ask questions of those who actually know and dealing with what is going on downtown. Thank you all so very much. You may stick around if you'd like, or whatever you would like to do, but thank you. And so I am going to ask you now, Ms. Rosie, if you would do whatever you have to do to give the illustrious council person, you know what, before that fabulous lady comes on, let me ask my beautification person, because I'm thinking the conversation about the budget is going to be a good conversation. So my beautification person, Commissioner, would you like to say anything right quickly before she gets started?
Councilor, will you come back to me, please? I'm sorry.
Okay. Oh, no problem. I hear the little ones there. I should have let you know I was going to call you on you. So that's okay. Or you can also write because people are looking at the chat. Write how they can contact you in the chat if they want to set up or talk to you about setting up a community cleanup. So you all can do that, and you can get you can let them know what kind of materials you can get to them, and what the slow up is on us doing a district cleanup, so we can kind of get some target dates on that. You can go ahead and put that in the chat.
I'm available.
Then that way you don't have to stop. Oh, okay, go ahead, sir.
I'm sorry.
Commissioner, we can come back to you at the end. We can come back to you at the end.
Quarterly cleanup. They are doing a weekly cleanup, and it's only an hour a day. They send out a sign up, say, hey, you know, we're going to be on this stretch of road for an hour. Anyone who wants to participate, please sign up. And the beautification commissioner, he picks up pickers as far as the trash collectors, garbage bags, etc., and he coordinates that. So whatever area that they're going to be meeting, that's where he's at. And for me, you know, to get his hands on, also to start getting some of these areas that actually need, you know, to be cleaned up. I think that's a great idea, which I hadn't talked to Councilor Lee about it, but those were the things that, you know, I've been kind of working behind the scenes, trying to figure out a way to actually get feet on the ground within our areas, because, you know, we all know that it's needed. And I will put anyone that's interested in participating, I'll put my email in the chat. Feel free to reach out to me. Also, if you have any issues in complaints as far as the hub goes, feel free, reach out to me. Anything that I can do, I will. That's all I have for you, Councilor Lee.
Thank you so very much. And I'm sorry to put you on the spot. I saw you had your arms filled, but anyway, thank you so much, Mr. Commissioner. And now I would like to turn it over to our illustrious Council Member Toombs, and she is going to have some very interesting information for you. And at the end, you may have some questions for her. So I will turn it on to you. And thank you so much again, Councilmember Toombs, for coming over and speaking with us.
No problem. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. No problem. Happy to be here. Rosie, I do want to share my screen because I have my spreadsheet that has the items that were included in the substitute on, and I just want to put that on the screen because it's a long list.
Your host, if you'll just put me back when you get through.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see here. Okay. I think that's right. Okay. So I just want to just give a little background on Nashville's finances. When I came into office in September of 2019, it hasn't even been a full 2 years yet. When I came into office September 2019, and ignore the yelling children in the back. But when I came to office in 2019, we got actually in November of 2019, if you recall, the comptroller came and spoke to the council because the fiscal year 2020 budget that was submitted was rejected by the state because that budget included some one-time expenses, one-time revenue that did not occur. That was the privatization of the parking, and it was selling the district energy system, DES. And so those things did not occur. So there was a gap, a $40 million gap in the city's budget. And so we had to submit a corrective action plan that showed how we were gonna come up with that money. And so there were some cuts, some money wasn't impounded to make up that, to generate that $40 million. What the comptroller also brought to the attention of the city was that we were in some pretty bad financial shape at the time. At the time, revenues were growing, booming city, the it city. So everybody thinks that there's just an overflow of revenue coming into Nashville. But revenue was growing at the time at 29%, but debt was growing at 36%. And just like, with inflation, the cost of goods and services goes up every year, the cost of running a government goes up every year. And there had not been a property tax increase in Nashville since 2011. So fast forward to fiscal year 21 budget season, and you've got the large property tax increase that occurred, the 34%, which was an extremely difficult decision for the council to make because we were in the midst of COVID. We had so many disasters happen in Nashville. It was not a good time financially for most people. But we were faced with having a significant budget deficit at the time. And so we needed to have a big enough increase that would put us on the right track. And it actually did. And so you fast forward to fiscal year 22, which is the budget we just passed. And Nashville has a very stable economy. We have a very good credit rating. And the companies that rate that give us those credit ratings, part of the reasoning that they say that, we have such a stable economy right now is because we did that property tax increase. And so now we're in a position where we're not just surviving, we're thriving. And so with this year's budget, we wanted to invest in neighborhoods, to invest in things, in resources that had been suffering for or lacking for a long time. So you had the mayor's proposed budget. If you don't know the budget process, the mayor has until May 1st to submit his or her proposed budget to the council. The council then has until June 30th to pass a budget. If the council fails to pass its own budget, then the mayor's budget automatically becomes the city's budget on July 1. So as the budget chair this year, I did a substitute budget. And the substitute that I proposed was the result of 9 months worth of work. When I became budget chair, I immediately reached out to department heads. I became budget chair in September of last year. I reached out to department heads. I reached out to community organizations. Myself, along with my vice chair, Councilwoman Porterfield, we did an 11-part Budget 101 series, just breaking down the budget, how we bring in money, how we spend it, and then we had panel discussions on different aspects of Nashville's finances, just to make the process as transparent as possible so that people could understand what's going on with the city's money. Budget hearings were longer this year. There were 3 budget work sessions. So there's a lot of discussion around the budget. I'm active on social media, so I see comments about that constituents make about the budget. And so all of that input went into the substitute that you are looking at. And so this spreadsheet just breaks down what I changed. And so this $13.6 million is not new money. Because we have to have a structurally balanced budget, which means our recurring revenue equals our recurring expenses. And so this $13.6 million, as you can see at the top, I had to take money from other places in the budget in order to come up with this $13.6 million. Because once the finance director sets the revenue projection, that's it. The charter says the finance director has the sole authority to set the revenue projection for the city. So once he tells us what our bucket is, that's the number we have to work with. And so the substitute is $13.6 million in, I guess, reshuffled money. And so that covers 15 new firefighter positions and 10 EMS positions. It added 3 positions to Metro Animal Control. It added $818,000 to the Mental Health Cooperative Crisis Treatment Center. And if you've been following the news, you know that the mental health co-op has that pilot with MNPD, where there is a licensed healthcare professional going out on calls with a police officer, just trying to get people services, because we can't just continue to incarcerate people. That's not helping us solve any of the issues that we have as a city. And so, you know, because a lot of folks do have mental health issues who come into contact with the criminal justice system, we're trying to provide the resources that are going to stop that revolving door with the same people in and out of the system, because their actual problem isn't being addressed. And the mental health co-op had a budget deficit. And so the substitute basically funded that deficit so that they were fully funded for fiscal year 22. For our Metro workers, the mayor's budget gave a step increase. So with Metro workers, some get a step increase, which is based off seniority, and some get are called open range employees, which means they get merit-based raises. And so the mayor's budget included a step increase for the employees that get that, as well as a 3% raise for the open range folks and a 1% COLA. So when that the pay plan went before the Civil Service Commission, that is what they approved. However, they also approved 2 amendments, which was to make up for the step increase that was cut last year, as well as, in order to be fair to the open range employees, to give them an additional, I think, 1% raise. And so the mayor's budget did not include that, so the substitute added that back in. Parks and Recreation, our Parks Department, they have to take care, I believe it's, oh gosh, it's thousands of acres of land that they have to keep up with and maintain, and they've been severely understaffed for a long time. So the mayor's budget did include, I believe, 8 or 9 additional FTEs, and so the substitute added additional FTEs. Also, the substitute provided about 3.1 million additional dollars to schools. If you listen to the budget hearing, you heard from a lot of the paraprofessionals. There were 7 professional development days that they were not getting paid for, and that was having a significant impact on paychecks. And so that was not in the MMPS budget. So the substitute gave that additional money, as well as advocacy centers for elementary schools. So there was some money in the budget, as well as some federal dollars that covered about 54 schools, but there are 72 or something like that. And so this money, the 1.4 million, covered the remainder. Also, money was given to reduce the student to psychologist ratio for the schools. There was an additional FTE given for the East Convenience Center. There was money given to the public library to have Friday library hours for those branches that don't already have Friday library hours, as well as library curbside service. We all know that we have a significant homeless problem in Nashville with folks not having housing. So 2 FTEs were added to the social services homeless division to try to help. Because one of the problems that, we have some resources, but it's hard for the 2 people who are currently in the homeless division to try to get out and talk to people and try to match them with resources. So the hope is that this additional manpower will make that a little bit easier. There's a Metro Arts Restorative
Council Lady, let me stop you a minute. I'm going to ask everybody to look, because evidently there's somebody that has a child in the background and you don't realize that your mic is still hot. So we have been listening to your wonderful little child, not really talking, but I think they were displeased or something. But anyway, everybody, please check your mics. A hot mic can be a dangerous thing. Thank you for letting me interrupt.
Oh, no problem. And that child might be mine.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. They want mommy to get off. They want mommy to get off of there. Okay, my bad.
That's okay. And I apologize if that's distracted for anyone. I do have a child that is not happy right now. So anyway, so there's some money for training materials for human resources. There's $1 million for a Cure Violence North Nashville pilot. Again, a lot of what you hear in the news and from community organizations is the desire to look at alternatives to policing. Because again, we can't police, and even the Chief Drake will tell you, we can't police ourselves out of the issues that we have as a community. And so the Cure Violence is a violence interruption program. And it is really, a boots on the ground effort to reduce gun violence. There are some needs in the council office. Currently we have about 12 staff members that help 40 council members. So that is a bit much. So there is some funding to provide additional staff, as well as some travel, and that's for conferences for council members to meet with legislators and in other parts of the country, and that helps to with any type of training, even with your job. If you're talking to people who do the same thing that you do, it helps you to develop and to come up with ideas of how to make your workplace better. Translation services, that was an issue this year, being able to reach non-English speakers, as well as some software needs. There's a pilot or a software program that Councilwoman Swawer is working on that would allow council members to have conversations electronically where the public can see those conversations, because as you know, with the sunshine laws, we can't deliberate amongst ourselves unless it's a public meeting. So that kind of hinders working on legislation and moving things along quicker. County clerk, that office had lost 2 positions a couple of years ago, and so the substitute adds those 2 positions back. And so that gets you your $13.6 million for the substitute, and the substitute was passed unanimously. Again, that was the result of 9 months worth of work. A lot of collaboration and went into creating the substitute, and I think it's a good substitute, and my colleagues agreed. And at this point, I'll stop talking and answer any questions that you have.
Council lady, can you see the bottom of the screen when hands and things go up?
Oh, let me go back. Go to participants.
I don't see any questions right now, but I know there have got to be some.
I don't see any right now. Let's see. Go to the chat.
That's because you did such a wonderful job of explaining.
Well, if anyone comes up with any questions, you know, you can either reach out to me or to Councilwoman Lee, and I'll make sure you get an answer.
Because you know, I am going to say, I'm going to make sure they reach out to you, or I reach out to you, because numbers aren't my forte. But I want to thank you so very much for coming and presenting with us. It looks like we have never done this before, I don't think. It looks like we are almost finished about 10 minutes early. I am going to open it up one more time to see if anybody has a question that they would like to ask before we leave. Anyone?
Council Lady Lee, it's Billy Spalding. I'd like to ask Council Lady Toombs a question. I can't imagine how much you have to go through to decide who gets this money. Can you give me a general overview of who makes the decisions and how are those decisions made? Where does it give it to a district in North Nashville or Antioch or something like that? Just not specifics, just how is that decision arrived at?
So I think the mayor's office will probably tell you the same thing. So when the mayor puts together his budget, he meets with all the department heads, and all of the department heads, and they did the same thing for council. They submit their budget request. And so this year, because we knew that we would be able to make some investments in community this year, department heads were asked to give their pie in the sky budget. Like, if you had everything you wanted, what would that look like? And then once you have that information, really you just pick and you try to give everybody something that they can be happy with. I don't think anyone expects to get everything that they want, even though this year some departments did get their full request, but not every department did. And so when I looked at the substitute, I tried to basically, you know, sweeten the pot by filling in gaps that I felt were in the mayor's budget. And I filled in those gaps based off conversations I had with community members, listening to conversations during committee meetings between council members. Like I said, I read the Facebook posts, I read Twitter. I talk to department heads myself, and you just try to figure out where the need is, and then just try to plug it in. Because, for example, with the parks, it came down to was 17 FTEs. The original request, and the council members, we all submit wish lists ourselves of what we would like to see in the budget. So there was a request for, I think it was originally like 50 FTEs. And so it ended up being whittled down to 17. But that council member, when she saw, you know, what all was in the substitute, she felt like that was fair. So I think that everybody went into it knowing that they weren't going to get everything that they wanted. They just wanted something that was fair. And so that's what I try to do in the substitute. And people were satisfied with it. So it's really, there's no formula or anything. You're just trying to gauge how people feel and then plugging in the numbers.
Thank you. Very good.
A question came up in the text about where can they go to get the budget? Where exactly can they go to be able to see a copy of the budget?
Hold on, I can put a link in there. Hold on.
Thank you.
Okay. See. I'm gonna give you the link to the finance page, because then it's the Citizens Guide to Metro Budget. So it's got like the budget book, the ordinance, and the finance presentation.
Great. Are you putting that in the chat?
Yep, I'm about to.
Okay. So if you all want that, go ahead and look up in the chat and get it, because I think once we go, oh, there it is. I think once we go, that's going to kind of go with you. So they can hit on it now and go to it, and then you can save it or whatever, or copy it and paste it someplace else, because I think we're getting ready to go. We got about 5 minutes. I hope you found this type of meeting helpful. It seems like in our district, we have only been having development meetings, and I had gotten kind of away from, since COVID and everything, our community meetings when we would have metro districts come in and do presentations on what's going on. I do want to get to some more of those. We are going to have the new diversity director to come to one of our meetings. I don't have my book. I'm not going to get up and run out now. Do you know which when that is, Rosie? Will you share that with us?
It's, let's see here, hold on just a second. It is August the 18th.
Okay, and and who's going to be on there with him? I'm trying to hold those type of meetings, and I will tell you something else that I'm looking for. I am looking for somebody of the African culture and somebody in the Hispanic culture. You know, I wanted to do those little, like about 15 minutes to meet your neighbor, so that on one of my 15 minutes in one of my meetings, that they could just present a little thing so everybody could learn more about different cultures. So if you have somebody, or you know somebody in our district in those two cultures who may be interested in just talking for 10, 15 minutes, maybe not even 15 minutes, a little bit about their culture, something that they want to share, or questions or those type of things, please just hit me up in the email, Lee, the number 4D33@gmail.com, and let me know that person's contact information and name, and I will get in contact with them, because I do want to do those little sections. I think it's important because we have a lot of diversity in our area. So I think it's very important for us to hear things and ask questions, because I think a lot of the misunderstandings come just because of ignorance. And I know that I'm ignorant with a lot of other cultures. So if you know that, send that to me. Ms. Rosie, did you have anything else?
Did you hear me on the meeting on the 18th? Because my mic went out. We have
That's when the
various departments also participating, as well as Courtney Poe from the Economic Development. We also have a meeting scheduled for August the 4th for Sammy Saeed, and that's the one on Murfreesboro Pike. It's an update meeting.
Okay, and that's the development he's presented before, and he was open to, he actually lives in the district, and he was open to make changes. So, you know, we try to send the information out also by email before we have the meeting. So if you have some specifics around that, let us know, because he was very open to changing whatever. And that's what he brought to me when he first came. He was going to be an open book, but then when you're open book, people are like, what are you thinking about putting there? So I think he did have some stuff in mind, but he is open to changing that, however. And then that meeting date when the different divisions are going to be here, they will also leave some time for you to ask questions of them as well. And we'll put that out again so you can see who's coming to what. Pray for Tawana. Pray for each other. Life is too short. There's a lot of craziness going on, and life is too short. When you hear craziness in your area, make sure that you call it in instead of saying, well, the police aren't going to do anything. Because one thing that does is, even if they don't come out there, if it's nothing they can do right away, they have to mark it down. So if it's a whole lot of stuff happening in a particular area, then they will have that. And then when we call them to say you need to do something about that area, they'll be able to look and say, oh yeah, we've had a lot of calls on that. When you see a lot of trash thrown someplace, and instead of shaking your head and saying that's a shame, why do people do that? Turn it in. You can call 311 if you don't want to go on the hub, and turn it into Public Works, or either just look. I hope you copied down our commissioners, our beautification commissioner's email. He had put it over here in the chat. Make sure that you copy that down because it's getting ready to leave. And you can actually just email him and say, this area needs some extra work. And so if he can't organize a cleanup, he can send it in to, and when he sends it in, he needs to say, I'm the beautification commissioner for this area. You know, throw your weight around a little bit and let them know that there's some particular areas that need some special help. All of us working together. If you see something, say something. That's what we need to do. A lot of times we don't do that. One person can't do it. So we need to work together to do some things. Is there anything that is, I'm getting ready to close now, we're a minute over. Is there any special announcement that you can't wait, somebody just has to say? Then I will say thank you to all of you, because I know you could have been different places. Thank you for coming and participating. And you all be safe. Have a great afternoon. Thank you so much, Ms. Roseanne. And I'm so glad you're back. You all be safe. Thank you. Good night.